Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm bringing you a story so intense, so unexpected, and so full of twists that you might find yourself leaning closer to your screen as each moment unfolds. Imagine this, you're sitting in a luxurious, five-star restaurant, candles, glowing, soft music, playing the clinking of silverware, creating a quiet rhythm of elegance, and right in the center of the room sits a millionaire, celebrating the happiest moment of his life, his engagement dinner. But before the night ends, everything he believes, every dream he holds, and every plan he made will be torn apart by a single whisper from a waitress, a whisper that simply said, "Run now." Let's dive deep into this unforgettable night, starting from the very beginning, the moment that set everything in motion. Our story follows Ethan Culp, a 35-year-old self-made millionaire known for his calm demeanor, sharp mind, and reputation for being as generous as he was successful. After building his tech company from scratch, he had everything people dream of: wealth, respect, admiration, and now love. At least that's what he believed, because tonight was the night he was officially announcing his engagement to the beautiful, elegant, and seemingly perfect Isabella Hart, a woman who looked like she stepped straight out of a fairy tale, her smile radiant, her charm magnetic, her presence captivating. Ethan was convinced he had found the woman he would spend the rest of his life with, but fate had other plans. Fate had a secret, and fate had chosen an unexpected messenger to reveal it. The evening began beautifully, the restaurant filled with soft golden lights, the windows overlooking the glittering city skyline, servers moving gracefully like dancers, and Ethan feeling on top of the world. He held Isabella's hand as they waited for their first course, listening to her talk about their honeymoon ideas, her dream destinations, her excitement about becoming Mrs. Cole. She looked flawless, her silver dress shimmering gently every time she moved. Ethan couldn't imagine that just a few minutes later, that perfect image would enter Lily, a young waitress working her third shift of the week, quiet, kind-hearted, and unnoticed by most customers. She had tired eyes that hinted at long days and longer nights, but tonight, those eyes carried something else, something heavy, something urgent. The moment she stepped into the dining area, her gaze landed directly on Isabella, and instantly, all the color drained from her face. She froze, her hands trembling slightly as she carried a tray of water glasses. Ethan noticed her reaction, but thought nothing of it. He assumed maybe she was new or nervous. He had no idea that the truth was so much darker. Lily approached their table, trying to steady her breath. Ethan smiled politely and thanked her. Isabella barely looked at her, which wasn't unusual. Isabella only acknowledged people she considered worth her time, but Ethan looked up and asked politely, "Are you okay? You look a little shaken." Lily nodded quickly and walked away. But something was off. She didn't look back, yet her shoulders stiffened as if she were fighting an internal war. Minutes later, she returned to their table, this time without the tray, her steps careful, her eyes fixed, not on Ethan, but on Isabella. Her voice shook as she said, "Your main course will be right out." But then she leaned slightly closer, her hair falling forward, obscuring her face from Isabella, and in a whisper so low, Ethan almost wondered if he imagined it, she spoke two chilling words: "Run now." Ethan froze. He blinked, confused, his heartbeat stuttering. What? That couldn't be right. He must have misheard. But Lily's expression didn't match someone joking. Her eyes were wide with fear, her hands trembling uncontrollably. She didn't wait for a response. She simply straightened up, walked away, and disappeared behind the kitchen doors, leaving Ethan in a stunned silence. He sat there trying to make sense of the moment, but before he could ask Isabella if she noticed anything, she spoke first with a bright, almost forced smile. "Are you all right? You look pale." Ethan swallowed hard and nodded. "Yeah, just a little lightheaded," but inside he was spiraling. Why would a stranger tell him to run, and run from what? From whom? He looked at Isabella, suddenly seeing her differently, not with love, but with questions. Ones he didn't want to ask, but couldn't ignore. Something inside him urged him to stand up, leave, follow the waitress, but another part of him didn't want to ruin the night. He convinced himself it was nothing, maybe a mistake, maybe she meant something else. Yet deep down he knew better. The whisper had felt deliberate, desperate even. Warned. After a few minutes of tense silence, Ethan excused himself, saying he needed to use the restroom, but instead of going there, he headed quietly toward the kitchen area, searching for Lily. He found her near the storage room, her hands covering her face as if she were trying not to cry. "Lily," he whispered, and she jumped, startled when she saw it was him. Her expression twisted with panic, and she shook her head vigorously. "Please go back," she pleaded. "I shouldn't have said anything. You need to leave this place tonight." Now Ethan stepped closer, confused and concerned. "Why? What's going on?" She hesitated, her voice breaking. "I know her. I know Isabella." Ethan blinked, stunned. "What do you mean, you know her?" Lily lowered her voice, looking around nervously before speaking again. "Isabella Hart is not who she says she is. That's not even her real name. She's dangerous." Ethan stared at her, as if she had just spoken in another language. Dangerous? Isabella, the woman he loved, the woman he planned to marry? He shook his head. "That's impossible. There must be some mistake." Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. "I wish it were a mistake, but I've seen what she's done. I've seen the people she's hurt. She's been running from city to city for years, changing her identity every few months. Every time she leaves someone behind, broken, robbed, betrayed." Ethan's breath caught. In his chest this sounded insane, unbelievable, like a nightmare he didn't want to accept, but something in Lily's voice and her trembling fear told him she was telling the truth. She wasn't acting, she wasn't guessing, she was terrified. He could ask more. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Lily panicked, pushing Ethan gently. Go, she whispered urgently. Go before she sees you talking to me. Ethan stepped away, returning to the dining area. His mind spinning, everything felt different now. The music too loud, the lights too bright, the restaurant suddenly cold. He looked at Isabella, who was sipping her wine with an unreadable expression. She seemed calm, almost as if she already knew something was happening. He sat back down. She placed her hand on his arm, her eyes narrowing slightly. Is everything okay, darling? You were gone a while. Ethan forced a smile, but his heart raced. It's fine, just needed a moment. She leaned closer, her voice soft but edged with something strange, something he had never noticed before. You seem nervous, Ethan. Is something bothering you? Tone sent chills through him. The warmth he once loved in her voice suddenly felt fabricated, rehearsed. He tried to pull his arm back gently, but she tightened her grip for a split second, her fingers digging in just enough to make him flinch. Then she smiled sweetly. Again, as if nothing happened. Ethan realized then that Lily wasn't lying. Something was wrong, very wrong. To stay calm, Ethan decided he needed proof, something concrete, before confronting Isabella, so he discreetly picked up his phone, pretending to check messages, and sent a quick text to his head of security asking him to run a quiet background check on Isabella. Immediately his hands trembled as he hit send. If Lily was wrong, he would apologize for doubting Isabella, but if she was right, he needed to know before the night ended. Their food arrived, and Isabella chatted happily about their future, but Ethan barely heard a word. His eyes kept drifting toward the kitchen door, wondering if Lily was safe, wondering what she knew, what she had seen, and how deep this deception went. The minutes passed slowly, painfully, until finally his phone buzzed under the table. He opened the message, expecting maybe minor inconsistencies, nothing major, but instead he felt the blood drain from his face. His security chief had found something shocking. Isabella Hart never existed, not legally, not financially, nothing. Her identity was completely fabricated, but that wasn't the worst part. The message continued. She has been tied to multiple high fraud cases using aliases in different states. Several wealthy men had reported missing assets after being involved with a woman matching her description. She was suspected but never caught. She vanished each time just before authorities could intervene. Ethan's chest tightened, his breath unsteady. Lily had been arrived, lifted his gaze slowly, and found Isabella watching him. Her eyes cold, calculating, and filled with something he had never seen before, suspicion. She tilted her head slightly, noticing his trembling hands. Ethan, is something wrong? Her voice was soft, but the threat beneath it was unmistakable. This was no longer the woman he thought he knew. This was someone else, someone Dangeralsathan knew. He had one chance to get out, one chance to run, just like Lily warned, but he had to do it carefully. Isabella wasn't stupid. She was observant, quick, manipulative. One wrong move, and he didn't know what she might do, so he forced a smile, a shaky one, and said, actually, I'm not feeling well. I think I need some air. Isabella's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course, darling, let's step outside together. Ethan's heart dropped. That wasn't what he wanted. He needed to leave alone, but arguing would only raise suspicion, so he nodded reluctantly and stood up. As they walked toward the exit, Ethan subtly looked around for Lily, but she was nowhere in sight, maybe hiding, maybe too scared to come out. The moment they reached the entrance, the cold night air hit him. He exhaled shakily, trying to gather his thoughts, but before he could take another step, Isabella grabbed his arm again, tighter this time. Painfully so, her perfect smile still plastered on her face, but her eyes burning with anger. Who were you texting, Ethan? She whispered, her voice icy. He swallowed hard, confused. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, she hissed, her nails digging into his skin. You looked scared earlier. Then suddenly you're texting someone. Who was it who told you about me? Ethan felt the world closing in on him. Her voice wasn't calm anymore. It was sharp, venomous, all her sweetness gone, replaced by the truth Lily had warned him about. He tried to pull away, but Isabella tightened her grip even more. You think you can get away from me, she whispered. I'm not finished here. You're not leaving. Not yet. Panic surged through Ethan, but adrenaline did too. He yanked his arm away, stepping back, breathing hard, his voice shaking. Isabella, stay away from me. Her eyes widened in fury. You fool, she spat. You had everything. I could have given you the perfect life if you had just done what I needed. But no, you had to dig, you had to doubt me. Ethan finally saw her for who she really was, not a beautiful dream, but a living nightmare. People near the entrance began to stare, noticing the tension. Isabella realized this and quickly changed her expression, smiling softly, wiping away her anger in an instant like a mask slipping back into place. Ethan, please, she pleaded, making her voice tremble. You're scaring me. Can we just talk? Don't do this. You're making a scene. Ethan almost laughed at the manipulation. The performance so perfectly executed, but he wasn't falling for it anymore. He took another step back, then another, until he turned and ran. He didn't look back. He didn't want to see if she was chasing him. He ran toward the street, his mind racing, his heart pounding each step, echoing Lily's whisper, "Run now." He reached the curb just as his driver pulled up, and without waiting, he jumped into the car, yelling, "Drive." Now the car sped away, and only then did Ethan breathe, collapsing back into the seat, trembling with shock, fear, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. He didn't go home that night. Instead, he went straight to a secure location owned by his company, notifying his security team and lawyers. Immediately, they began digging deeper, uncovering even more disturbing details about Isabella's past. Everything Lily had said was true, and worse, Isabella had planned to marry Ethan, access his accounts, assets, and disappear, just like she had done before, draining his life's work in the process. Lily's warning had saved him from losing everything. The next morning, the police arrived at the restaurant to question employees, but Isabella was gone, vanished without a trace. Just like every other time she had been exposed, Ethan couldn't shake the thought of what might have happened if Lily hadn't recognized her, or if she hadn't taken the risk to warn him. Days passed, then weeks, and finally, after nearly a month of searching, authorities located Isabella in another city using a different name, planning her next target. She was arrested before she could run again, and Ethan's testimony, along with Lily's, saved countless others from falling victim to her schemes. As for Lily, Ethan made sure she was rewarded for her bravery. He found out she had been struggling financially, supporting her younger siblings, working multiple jobs just to get by, so he hired her at his company, gave her a stable position, full benefits, and paid for her siblings' education. She never asked for anything in return, but Ethan insisted, because without her courage he might not be alive today. And Ethan, he healed, slowly rebuilding trust, learning to listen to his instincts, learning not to ignore the small signs that whisper warning before the storm comes. He returned to his life stronger, wiser, and grateful for the unexpected hero who saved him with just 2 simple words: "Run now." And that's today's story, one filled with suspense, mystery, betrayal, and courage. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.